Okay, I'm Ray Hilborn from the University of Washington, and I'm a member of the External Advisory Board. Kinds of problems that SESYNC should be working on. My area is generally interface between conservation and human use. In particular, I work primarily in fisheries and freshwater and marine ecosystems, but I also do some work on wildlife and national parks. And I also have an interest, a broader interest in food production and environmental impacts of food production. So I think all three of those areas are of considerable interest to ecologists and environmentalists, and all of those problems, as in almost any conservation problem, is a socio-environmental problem. That is, it involves people and it involves natural ecosystems. In fact, we wouldn't call, if we didn't have people, we wouldn't call them problems. So I don't see that any environmental problem can really be considered, and in particular you can work towards taking action without evaluation of the social and economic dynamics of the human side. And the human side is, in the systems I know, is more important than the ecological side. And so SESYNC is just a natural to look at environmental problems if we're concerned about providing science that is actionable, that actually leads to policy changes or actual societal change. Okay, for instance, there's been a lot of concern in the ecological community about the status of marine ecosystems, and particularly the impact of fishing. This has much broader impacts on human food supply and food security. So all of these things are intertwined. And if you're trying to find solutions that lead to some level of food production and yet conserve marine ecosystems, the real action is largely in the human side, how the humans are regulated, how management systems work, how the exploiters respond to regulation, and these are areas that there's a long history of work in, say, economics going back to the 1950s. There's a long history in the social anthropological political science community. Elinor Ostrom sort of made her Nobel Prize on this issue, mostly in forestry, but those same issues are clearly key to understanding how we conserve marine ecosystems. In the areas I know, let's take marine conservation. There are real decision makers. Okay, that there are decisions are made, and that's actually how I got into fisheries from a terrestrial background, is that people make decisions every day or at least every year about catch levels, about which areas are open, which areas are closed. And so the people who make those decisions rely very intensively on science advice. And so the kinds of advice that a synthesis center would produce is exactly the kind of information that the people who actually make decisions would need to evaluate the trade-offs that result from their decisions. That's, I think, the great opportunity of SESYNC, is that you clearly need to have people who understand the natural ecosystem, aka ecologists. You need people who understand how human societies work and respond, and that includes anthropologists, sociologists, economists, and political scientists.